Students, this is Miss Potter, and this video is going to go through how to navigate the weekly activities by using the pace chart. So I am in Blackboard and I am on the announcements page. This is the landing page. Every time you go into Blackboard, this is where you'll land. And I am going to click on the pace chart. And when I click on the pace chart button, the Algebra 2 pace chart pops up in your browser, and this pace chart is just a Google Doc. So this pace chart will outline each week. Here's week 1, here's week 2, here's week 3, and so on. And if you notice, the pace chart is a 5-step process. And you just repeat these steps each week. The only exception is week 1. And for more information about week 1 specifically, I would ask you to view the week 1 video that's going to be linked right here in the pace chart. It says practice assessment week 1. Okay, so I need to set the stage a little bit here before we get into that will make navigating using this pace chart a little more meaningful. So let me set the stage. So I am in a student preview account. What that means is Blackboard thinks I'm a student, just like you. And first thing I'm going to show you is my grades, because I need, like I said, I need to kind of frame this video as to from a student perspective. So this is what you see when you click on my grades. And so for this student, the activity that I see is that they have attempted the week 2 formative. They have attempted what we call a third try. I'll explain that a little bit later in the video. And then they have started the week 2 assessment. But they have not done any work beyond week 2. So just to kind of frame the situation here. So let's talk. Let's look at the pace chart again. So in this pace chart, we have 5 steps. I'm going to just kind of skip over week 1 and go right to week 2. If you notice, these 5 steps are repeated at the top of each week. Okay. So I'm going to go back to these initial heading first. Step 1 is the lesson tutorial. So you're going to watch a recording, and that recording is going to explain the content that we are going to be covering for the week. Step 2 is attending the live session. So this is the session where you and I get together and we discuss specific problems. In fact, the problems we discuss and solve are the problems that you will find in step 4 on the practice that you have to do. So the live session is really important. It really unlocks all of the ins and outs of passing your practice. Step 3, it says additional textbook and videos. So in step 3, there's additional resources for you if you want additional resources. Step 4 says weekly practice. So if you notice, it also says required. Okay, so this is a step that you have to successfully complete in order to progress through this 5-step process. So in Blackboard, you have a lessons button, right? And you click the lessons button, you go into the weekly folder, and down at the bottom, you'll see practice. And that practice, like I said, we go over all of the problems in this practice in this practice assignment. We go over all the problems in the live session. So if you attend the live session, you've got all the solutions. So in step 4, then, you have to take the weekly practice, and you have to score a satisfactory grade of an S. And once you get a satisfactory grade, then in this weekly folder, step 5 will open up, and step 5 will be another folder underneath the practice folder. It says assessments, and then inside that folder you'll see the assessments that you are required, again this is a required step, that you're required to do in order to complete the week. And it's step 5 assessments that count towards your grade. Okay, so this counts towards your semester grade. Step 4 doesn't count towards your semester grade. This is just practice, but this prepares you to do well in step 5. Okay, so going back to the Blackboard class, I'm going to click on lessons. And I'm going to go into, this is going to be, I'm going to skip over week 1 because like I said, there's a separate video for week 1. I'm going to actually skip over week 2. Now remember, this student preview, this student has already begun working in week 2. I want to show you what it's like to see a week where there's no work yet done. So week 3, remember that the student had done nothing in. So let's look at week 3. So this is what typically a week is going to look like when you open it up the very first time. So week 3, when you open up a weekly folder for the very first time, what you'll see is you'll see the pace chart. Notice again, it's the pace chart and it's embedded. So you can scroll. These links are all active, okay? And you can use it just like you would use the individual pace chart file here. So here's week 3. We are in the week 3 folder. We are looking at the week 3 tasks. Okay, so week 3, here's the I can statements. It looks like we're going to work with inverse of linear functions and transformations. As we go through the steps, we can watch the video tutorial. All we have to do is click this hyperlink right here. We can see a previous year's live session. And so right now, our live session is set up for this time and day. You can see it right here. It's listed right here. And so for this year, for 22-23, it's 12 to 1 on Tuesdays. That's our live session. And right now we have a recorded link here. That's last year's. I will replace that with our current live session. And then step 3, we have additional examples you can look at if you choose to. And then step 4 is the weekly practice. Notice it's not a hyperlink because it's really telling you to go into the week 3 folder and go into the practice folder and do the practice. So if you notice, we scroll down here and here are some textbook resources. And here is the week 3 practice. So you would go into this practice and complete the practice. Now, I'm going to click on this in just a second, but before I do, I want you to notice that there is nothing underneath here. Okay, and that's because I haven't started the practice. When I pass the practice, that will populate another folder down here for the assessment. Remember, that's the one that counts towards your grade. The practice is just a practice. So I'm going to click on the practice, and here's the practice formative that you're supposed to take and pass. Now, I'll mention it again. In the live session, we go over all of these problems, and we solve them all in the live session. So when you attend the live sessions, it's just a tremendous advantage for you in working through this practice, this step 4. Remember, practice is step 4, right? Step 4 is the required weekly practice. It really helps you a lot in moving through step 4 on the pace chart. So we click on the weekly practice. We take this practice. So notice it says, this test can be saved and resumed later. We can have multiple attempts. We get 2 attempts on this. So I'm going to begin the first attempt, and it says this allows 2 attempts. This is attempt number 1. This test can be saved and resumed later. Your answers are saved automatically. So in the live session, we will work through all of these problems, and we'll explain why we're solving them, the way we're solving them, and give you insight as to how to solve problems like this. But notice a couple of things. You can save individual answers. So let's say I look at this and I decide that this is the inverse. I'm not sure it's the correct answer, but I can click on this. Oh, there we go. I can't click on this button. I have to click down here on button A, and I can save that answer. And it tells me it's saved. So we can go through, we can work on a couple of them and save answers. And I'm just randomly clicking on answers. These aren't necessarily the right answers. And I can save, and then I can come back to this later if I want to. So if you notice down at the bottom right here, I can save all answers. Okay, and that doesn't use one of my tries, that just saves them. And I can get out of this practice assessment. I'll just leave the page, and I can come into that practice assessment again, and I can continue and notice that I can continue working in this assessment. Here's one of those saved answers. You remember that? So here's another one of my saved answers, right? We saved that. So it doesn't use a try, but you can, and then when you have answered all of the questions, then you can save and submit that for a grade. Okay? And so when I save and submit that, now I only answered 2 of the 10 questions. If I hit OK here, what it's going to tell me is I didn't get any correct. So since I didn't get any correct, I didn't pass this assessment. Okay, so if I go into my grades, remember this is week 3. If I go into my grades, you can see I have an unsatisfactory grade for week 3 practice right now. Okay. And so let's take a look at week 2 now. Week 2, we're a little farther along in completing. So going back into lessons, if we look at week 2, this is what the student has done in week 2. The student has done the practice. So they've come in here, they've tried this twice. So they won't be able to get in a 3rd time. I'm going to try to get in a 3rd time just to show you what it's like. So I'm trying for a 3rd time. It says I can view my 2 attempts, but I can't, if I've tried it 2 times, I can't get back into that assessment. So after you've tried this 2 times, if you're still not getting a satisfactory grade, then you go down here to this assignment below, and this assignment is a 3rd try retake. So we don't always use this, only if we've taken this twice and haven't passed it. So notice the instructions. You will only submit work in this assignment if you have taken the practice formative above twice and have not received a satisfactory grade. If you pass the practice formative, leave this empty and ignore it. Okay, so the 3rd try retake has you go in and actually I think I want to go back to reading all of those instructions. These are the steps to follow for a 3rd try retake. Look back at your 2nd attempt up here in the practice. And to do that, here's a short video. Review the weekly live session recordings where we did all the formative problems. And then write the problem, the work, and the answers for each of the problems you get incorrect on the practice. So what you're doing is you're going back to the practice, taking your 2nd submittal, everything that you did wrong, you're going to correct it. And then we submit, we're going to take a picture of that, and there's various ways to take a picture of your work, and you can find the different ways in the how-to button here. But you're going to take a picture of that, and then you're going to upload the picture here. And the way you upload the picture here is you start a new submittal, and you can do a couple of things. You can write. If you want to, you can literally write it out in a text box. It will let you do that. That might be really cumbersome though. But what you can also do is you can also take a picture and then browse local files. So you'll be able to upload a screenshot or upload a file you already have in your camera roll or on your desktop, or use your camera on your device to take a picture. So I'm not going to submit any of that, but that's how you would submit a 3rd try retake. So back to why this is important. Let's go back to the grades and take a look at week 2. Remember I said that in week 2, the practice, the student didn't pass any of the practice. So the student went into the 3rd try retake. Shoot, I didn't mean to do that. Let's go back to grades. The student went into the 3rd try retake and uploaded their work, And I corrected that and gave them a satisfactory grade. And because I gave them that satisfactory grade, in the week 2 folder, they now have access to the assessments. So they now can go into the assessments and take the assessments. And so for this week, there's 2 assessments. So we have assessment 2A and assessment 2B that have to be completed for a grade. And then once we complete these 2 assessments, I'll grade them, and then you will be complete with week 2. So just a kind of a quick comparison here, if we look at week 3, if you remember, the student did not pass the formative on week 3, so we don't see any of the assessment folder at all. But in week 2, the student did pass the formative on the 3rd try, and so the week 2 assessment folder is accessible. So coming back to the PACE chart then, for week 2, the student watched the tutorials, came to the live session. I don't know, maybe the student looked at the additional information, maybe they didn't. For week 2, the student tried the practice twice, didn't pass, so submitted a 3rd try assignment to get a passing grade. And then this step 5 was made accessible, right? Notice in the small print here, it says a score of satisfactory is required to access step 5. So because they passed it on a 3rd try retake, step 5 was made accessible to them, and they started this assessment 2A here. And so that's kind of the typical way to progress through the 5 steps each week. Thank you for watching the video. And if you want more information about what we're doing in week 1, please see the week 1 video.